I got a little bit of a surprise for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Right, Bree?
A good surprise or a bad one?
I have a good surprise. He is a Hall of Famer in his sport. He is a Hall of Famer for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a Hall of Famer for college football. He's a Villanova Hall of Famer. He's a big basketball fan, a big Sixers fan. And he wanted to give his predictions on this season. And we want to welcome in for the first time to the PHLY Sixers show.
Wow.
One Brian Westbrook. What up, B. West?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, Devon. You are my man. I am so happy to be here. Thanks for finally having me on. Waiting and asking.
He's been promising us for forever and under delivering. So we're very excited. Even more excited that it's a surprise appearance. We had no idea.
Yeah. I've been on this. You know, he always has a lot of surprises this season. So super excited to be here.
Yeah. So listen, man. I don't know how familiar you guys are with. Of course, Brian's a big basketball guy, played the game. He had to stop playing to play football and make a career out of that. Good decision.
Seemed like a good call.
Yeah, good call. Good call. But he is at a lot of Sixer games and a lot of basketball games in general and has opinions on the 76ers and one, Joel Embiid. So, B, I didn't tell the guys. I don't know if they know how you feel about the game being played today. Who can win at that position? So if you would share with them and our viewers, our listeners, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll say this. I'll start by saying I love his talent. Special. Game today is very, very rare to have the center as your best player and that guy continuously being inside, outside. We understand what Joel does. He's inside, outside, does a little bit of everything. I just think it's very hard to have your center as your best player, offensive player, and you to win. Now, obviously, the question is, the comment's going to be, well, the Joker, they just won a couple out in Denver. I mean, he was special. Obviously, he's a center. I think that was an outlier. I believe in today's game, you need guards to be able to control things and win consistently. And a big part of that is the injury factor. And we've already have heard rumblings and dealing with some things with Joel Embiid early on in this season, and injuries really across the board with some of our stars. And so I just believe that you need a guard to be able to control things, to run things through, and to be able to win consistently in the NBA.
Thankfully, they got a very good one of those in Tyrese Maxey. And, people rave about him as on like every single front, right? He's one of those people that's very easy to root for. But last year he went from, he's the fun young surprise to he's one of the guys now. He's a pillar of the franchise. I guess, so what are you looking for from Tyrese Maxey as he tries to get from that all-star level, which is a high level, but maybe into that next tier, the all NBA and competing for individual awards? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there's an all-star level, which he clearly is at. We understand what he was able to do from jumping from the earlier part of his career to last year, where he just went crazy. And I don't know that it was surprised a lot of people. We saw the progression, him getting better and better and better. And then last year, he just jumped out there. Now it's about consistency, right? Can you do it the second year when everyone's expecting you to do it, when all the pressure is on you? There's a part, and I'll go back to football just a little bit. That first year that you're good, you may or may not make the all-star team, right? You may not be a Pro Bowler that year. But the second year, now you have to prove it. Now everyone's saying, you were great last year. Now we want to see if you can do it consistently.
Yeah.
And that's the real question. I think he has a talent to be able to do it. There's no doubt about it. Can he do it consistently? And my expectation for him is to continue to get better. We already know that there are going to be games where Joel won't be able to play. Paul probably won't be able to play all 82. Tyrese has to be that one thing that's consistent every single game. His competitiveness, his spirit, his ability to get up and down the floor, offensive and defensive side of the ball. I think if you bring that every single game, we got a chance to win an awful lot of games in Philadelphia.
We were just talking about it recently in terms of in-season additions, but if you were looking at this team, what's one thing you would like for them to be able to add throughout the course of the season? That could be a skill set, that could be a position, that could be a specific player. What's on your mind and where they can improve?
The season NBA is just long, man. I mean, there are times you're saying, all right, we just don't want to tire our guys out. There are times where you're saying there are guys that break, especially right before the playoffs. And so depth is always going to be an issue for this team. I think if you can get health, obviously, what you need every single year to be great, Tyrese, Paul George, and then Joel, you get health there. That's a great starting unit. If you can get some depth, guys coming off the bench that can be healthy and can give you points and minutes and allow the starters to sit on the bench for a little bit to get their air, then that's what you need on this team. You have star power. We understand that. So to me, if you had an order, health, number one, which every team is going to say, you have the star power, and then depth. If you can find that depth, this team will be really, really good. And I think they have some of that already. I think that you always are willing to add pieces in the offseason and really even during the season to help this team continue to get better. You have to be ready to play in the playoffs. We're going to make the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind. Are you ready to play extended minutes, extended series in the playoffs? And some parts of that is having depth during the regular season so that our main guys, our big three, is not taking on minutes that they may have to if we don't have the type of depth that we need.
So, Brian Westbrook joining us here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, looking at everything that they've done from the Paul George stuff to adding everywhere else around the roster, just totally revamping things. We saw where they had trouble with some. Of course, New York in the first round, Boston goes on to win a championship. How do you feel like they factor up against those top teams in the Eastern Conference in trying to make that push?
Well, listen, I still think they have the ability to beat any of those teams. And truly, any given night, we need our stars to play big and come up big in those key moments. When I said depth, we do have some depth. When you think about some of the guys that we have come off the bench, Kyle Lowry, Villanova guy, Drummond, some guys, Eric Gordon, we have some guys that have played significant, meaningful moments that have the ability to do that. Kelly Oubre, which I've loved Kelly Oubre's game. It's just there are times where he's a little wild, out of control, but he's also going to get you a bucket here.
He's divisive around here, Brian. We had some arguments about him, not just amongst each other, but with the our listeners, our viewers in the chat have a lot of opinions on Kelly Oubre.
Listen, I just love what he brings. I think that there is something to be said about that. He's excited all the time. I love that. So can they make a deep run? I think so. Can they beat can they beat the Knicks? That's going to be a big question. Can they beat Boston? Can they beat Milwaukee? Great questions. Do they have the star power to do it? Absolutely, right? Can they do it in the 7-game series? I believe that they can. Now, to my bigger point is health. How healthy can we be? That's the point of everything. We talk about in football, you can't make the club in the tub. We talk about that in every sport. You can't win the games that you're supposed to win or the games that you want to win if your stars aren't there. I don't care what nobody says. If Joel Embiid ain't playing in that last series or not playing the last couple of games, it's going to be very hard for that team to be successful. We need our stars to be able to be effective and available when we need them the most. That's going to be the tail of the tape. And we really haven't seen that in quite some time. Healthy stars when we need them the most. And unfortunately, we just haven't seen it enough.
All right. Any more?
I guess here's something I'm curious of, because I think a lot of fans right now, because they've gotten to the second round and haven't been able to get through, and they feel like they can't fully emotionally buy into the team right now because they've come up short. As someone who's gone through the rigors of a regular season and trying to compete in the playoffs, do you think that we fans, media, maybe make a little bit too much of championship or bust that we can't appreciate, whether that's a player or the course of the season? As Devon says, don't fast forward the 82. Do we make too much of that championship goal?
Of course not. That's the goal forever.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, exactly. Of course not.
I don't think we make too much of it. I mean, as fans, that's what we're supposed to do. I'm a fan of the Sixers. I want to watch every game of the 82 games of the season. I absolutely do not. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you guys. I watch, right? And the big thing, the goal at the end is to win in the playoffs and to win the championship. So I'm always invested in that. But can you fast forward it past the regular season? No, you can't do that. I think they're supposed to care about us. We're supposed to feel every single year. Now, player you have to be more realistic. You have to understand. Listen, they're gonna have it. We not have to go into the. But the truth is, we're supposed to feel that way. We're supposed to put pressure on our players, and as players, it's our responsibility to keep everything in perspective.
Right.
And how we feel and this, that, and the other. We have to be able to keep things in perspective as players as well.
All right, a couple more before we let you go. Just quick ones. Over under is 51.5 on the season for the Sixers win total for the regular season. I haven't asked these guys yet. I'll get theirs, but since you're here, what's yours?
How many games did they win last year?
They're 47.
That was with Joe. Missing like
and remember,
50.
Joel missed about 30.
He played 39 games last year,
so,
and they won 47. Okay. So
yeah.
Well, he's not going to play back-to-back. So what's that, 12, 15 games?
15 games.
Yep.
So I'm going to over. I'm going over. Because I think Paul has the hunger to play a lot of games when healthy. I think Tyrese takes it up at another level. I do want to say this before we get off. I think in order for this team to take it to the next level, Tyrese has to be a much bigger part, especially in the playoffs. We can't run the offense through Joel. That's my center thing again, of course.
Yeah.
And I think from what we've heard from Joel and also what we've seen, like that game 5 in New York last year, for example, Joel has shown he will give the floor to Tyrese when it's like, look, if he's rolling, if he's cooking, it's your show. Yep. Like I think that was the most important thing that developed to the end level last year was the chemistry and the belief between those two guys. And I'm sure you know better than we do how important that inherent trust is in your co-stars once you get to the playoffs.
I felt like last year at Game 5, which makes the Paul George pickup even more important. I think they needed a guy like Paul George. They needed somebody else, right? They needed one more guy. And hopefully, again, everyone's healthy enough to be in there for that Game 5 opportunity this year.
All right. And the final one, not saying will they win the championship, just simply how far do they go?
I love seeing them get to the Eastern Conference finals. I think they could certainly win that. Can they win the championship? I can't go that far. Honestly, as a fan, my fan, that's my reality and analyst answer is I want to see how well this team meshes together. Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, as well as Joel Embiid.
All right, everybody go check him out at, of course, at 36 Westbrook on Twitter. The bwestbrook.com is his website if you want to go check Ryan's site out there. And also the Brian Westbrook Foundation, brianwestbrookfoundation.com if you want to see all the great things that Brian does in the community for kids and so many others. B, thanks so much, man. Next time we'll have you in studio. Hopefully we're doing this when they're getting ready for an NBA Finals playoff series, final series.
Yes, sir. Sounds great, guys. Thank you so much. Talk soon.
We all silly like the mayor.